Hi guys, so I thought I would share a little story with you of something that just happened to me. So I just came out of the women's health clinic in the town that I live in, and I was there to get my IUD checked because of some issues that I've been having, which I'm going to make a separate video on this evening. But anyways, when I was going into the women's health clinic, I saw these people across the street, and they were they had like picket signs that said 33 million unnecessary deaths since 1989, and they were handing out religious flyers and stuff. And so I knew they were probably protesting abortion or something to that effect, but that's not what this video is about. What it's about is when I went in, I just ignored them. Like, okay, they're doing a peaceful protest on their side of the street. They're not bothering me, so no big deal. So then when I came out, I heard, so there was a group of like 5 of them, 3 men and 2 ladies, and I heard the 2 ladies scream, "Baby killer," like really, really loud. And I was the only person around, and I'm trying to get the angle right. And I just come out of the clinic, so I took, I don't know if offense is the right word, but I knew they were talking to me, and it was hurtful to me because this video is not for or against abortion. It has nothing to do with that. But like, I wasn't even there. I had nothing to do with the baby is why I was there. So anyways, at that point, I realized I had 3 choices. I could either react in a negative way, I could ignore them, or I could try to educate them. And so what I decided to do is I decided to walk across the street and try to educate them. And so the 2 ladies, they wouldn't come near me, but the guy that was carrying the 33 million deaths since 1989 sign, he came over to me and he's like, "Do you realize that you just killed a baby?" And I was like, okay, I came across here to explain to you what good work this clinic does. Yes, you are correct. This clinic does perform abortions, voluntary abortions. It does. However, that is a fraction of what it does. And he's like, "What do you mean?" And so I explained that this clinic, if someone comes in there and they are pregnant, they help them to decide what their options are. If giving the baby up for adoption is the right answer, and if it is the right answer, what type of adoption. Open adoption, closed adoption. So they have adoption counselors. They do have counselors that counsel people on the decision to have an abortion and then do post-care after abortion, both physical and mental health. They also help women to figure out why is it that they feel like they can't have this baby, and is it just because of resources, and they help to connect them to resources. But that is only a very small fraction of what they do. They also do STI testing, they also do STI treatment and follow-up counseling. They do contraception, which is they prescribe contraception, and they also do insertions of contraception such as IUD, which is what I was doing. They do many, many things. And I was explaining this to the gentleman. He's like, "Really?" He's like, "I thought that was just an abortion clinic." And I said, once again, that is one of the things that this clinic does. But for the most part, they don't do abortions. They do so many other things. And he was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that the ladies yelled at you." And I said, "You know what? I was not someone who came out of the clinic who had just made the decision to have an abortion. So yes, it bothered me. It upset me. Not that they thought that of me, but that they would just say something like that because, every circumstance is different." I said, "But what about if I was a woman who just made the decision to have an abortion, and I walk out of the clinic and heavy-hearted, I personally have never had an abortion. However, I have supported many young women and not young women, but young women through work, and some family members through having abortion and making that devastating decision to have an abortion. And I never approach it from for or against. I approach it from supporting the person. So I said, how do you think that person would feel if they walked out and they just made that decision? And he very quickly snapped back and like, well, they could have had the baby. And I said, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And he said, well, the only abortion that is allowed, in air quotes, is a medical abortion. And that would happen in an emergency room. That wouldn't happen here. And I said, you're right. Emergency abortions wouldn't happen here. I said, but once again, there's so many good things that this clinic does. And voluntary abortion is just one small fraction of what they do. So I said, you know what? You have your beliefs, and that's absolutely fine. You can absolutely have your beliefs. And you believe that abortion is wrong, and these ladies believe that abortion is wrong, and that's fine. You can have your beliefs. You can even hand out those papers. I said, I saw you handing out the papers to people when I went into the clinic, and it was very peaceful, and I didn't think anything of it other than you were expressing yourself in what you believe. I said, but when I came out and someone yells across the street at me that I'm a baby killer, that's not okay. That is taking it from peaceful to something, to the next level, to something else. And I said, you guys could really, really, really negatively affect someone. And I said, you don't want women coming in here having abortions because you believe every baby has the right to live. I said, but do you believe that every woman has the right to live? And he's like, of course I do. I believe every person has the right to live. And I said, well, you need to be very careful what you say to someone, because you don't know what situation they're in. And I said, someone could come out of that clinic very devastated that they just made the decision that they made, and someone yells across the street at them and calls them a baby killer. That could push them over the edge, and they could have a mental health emergency. And he's like, oh my God, I never thought of that. And I was like, I'm not here to say right or wrong. What I'm here is, I just wanted to educate you. I said, I've spent a lot of time working with individuals, 15 plus years, that unplanned pregnancy, I'm not going to say unwanted, unplanned pregnancy is a reality for a lot of the people I work with. And through the years, and I've supported people in keeping the baby, I've supported people in giving the baby up for adoption, and I've supported people in having voluntary, or what Canada calls voluntary abortions. And it's devastating. All three ways it's devastating, because it's not something that the woman planned. And he immediately, his face just went white and tears came to his eye. And he said, that's not the reason why. I guess he was the leader of the group, or the leader of these group of people. And he's like, that's not why I asked these people to come out here today. It wasn't about hurting people. It wasn't about upsetting people. He's like, I just want people to understand that, in my view, abortion is wrong unless it's medically needed, and that is what God believes too, and that we should be a holy society. And he's like, I never thought that by what we're doing, he's like, even by handing out the literature, if we handed it out to someone who had just decided to have an abortion, what could have that done to her? And I said, that's the message I wanted to get across. So just be very careful what you say and who you say it to. And he thanked me, and he said that he was going to talk to the ladies and tell them that it was inappropriate to do that. So I just thought I would share this story, because I had really a choice there. I could have, in my mind, this is like intolerance meeting intolerance with tolerance. So they kind of had an intolerance for women going in and out of that clinic, but they didn't fully know what was going on in that clinic. And so I could have went over there and got really mad and said, how dare you call me a baby killer, and on and on and on. Or I could have just got in my car and drove away and said, you know what? They said that, but that doesn't affect me personally. I just had an IUD check. That's fine. So that doesn't affect me at all. But what I chose to do is say, you know what? this doesn't affect me personally, but this could affect the next woman walking out the door, or the next woman going in the door, or whatever. And so I need to go and at least try to educate. And if it wasn't well received, I would have just left it, and I wouldn't have tried to push it any further. It wasn't, once again, it wasn't about meeting, the intolerance of what they believe to be going on in that clinic with more intolerance of their behavior. However, I was able to educate, and he was able to, I think, to see another side. I see him across the street. He did go and talk to the people he was with. I don't know what he said when he went over there, because I came and got in my car. But I'm hoping that he went over there and just talk to them about what I had said to him. And once again, it's not about is abortion right or is abortion wrong. That's not what this video is about. What this video is about is being respectful of other people and thinking about what you say before you say it, even if you're upset with what the person's doing, which in this case, they believe that everyone going in there was getting an abortion. Just be careful what you say when you have those feelings, and you're allowed to have those feelings, but just be careful what you say and who you say it to, because you don't know how it could affect them. And so that's what my purpose was, to go over there, and it worked as far as I can tell. And so I have to keep faith in humanity that I don't think they're going to stop handing out their literature or stop showing those signs across the street from this clinic, because they do perform abortions there. But I just hope that at the very least they'll stop yelling stuff out. I'm of two minds about the literature, but if they're going to continue to give literature, and I don't know that they push it on people. I just saw them handing literature to someone when I went in, so I don't know if that person voluntarily stopped, or they kind of gave it to them, or what was going on. So I just hope they approach it from a different point of view. Let them express. I mean, we live in a free country. Let them express their opinion. That's okay, but you need to do it in a respectful way. So that's all I have to say about the little situation that I just encountered. I just thought I would share it with all of you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the down bar. And please remember to subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys real soon. Bye-bye.